All right, so let's try to finish up what we started yesterday. That's why it's part B. So we're going to talk about functions. We've actually talked about functions in here already. I was kind of confused why they did this, but we'll just stick with what they do in the book. So here we go. So if we talk about a function, they start off with this. This is in the book. It's y equals p parentheses x. But we don't say p parentheses x. It's not p times x. What do we say? I'll put quotation marks. This part right there. How do we say that right there when we talk about functions? If that's a function, how do we say it? No? How do we say it? Not what is it? It's not px. P of x. Very good. Okay? So we say p of x. Like when we learn, that's supposed to be a what do you call that thing? Quotation mark. Okay? It's supposed to be a quotation mark. It's a little low. But we did f of x, correct? All right, it doesn't always have to be f. It could be all kinds of letters, all right? This time they put p. Why do you think they use the letter p? Because we are studying, very good, polynomials, all right? So that's kind of the same thing. It's really like this. It's like, again, this should be reviewed because we did this in this book back whenever we did it, okay? So if you said this, if you said, I don't know, y equals 3x plus 2, and then it says find y if x was equal to, I don't know, 4, okay? Remember this? You said find x if y is equal to 4. So what do? You just plug stuff in, right? You plug it in, so what do? You go 3 times what? 4 plus 2, that's 12 plus 2, which is 14. So y equals 14. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Why did I put, I don't know. Sorry. If x equals 4. Thank you for that. All right, if x equals to 4, and then y would equal 14. All right, that was kind of evaluate problems. They usually said that, evaluate 3 plus x if x was equal to 4. But then we went along a little bit further with our math, and we came up with this notation. We said, what if f of x was equal to 3x plus 2? Instead of saying, evaluate this if x is equal to 4, we came up with this little symbol, f of, let's put 4. So what is f of 4? It's a little more streamlined, a little bit easier. There's not as much stuff to write. The math is exactly the same. That didn't really change. But what does it mean, f of 4? Well, whenever you see an x, what are you going to replace it with? Well, no, you're going to replace the x, which is the variable. You replace it with a what? With a 4. That's right. Replace it with a 4. So you're doing the same exact math. It's just the notation looks a little bit different. And that still gives you 14, just like we did over there. All right, so that's a little review of functions. I think you remember that. So let's go right to an example now. So this is example 5 on section 5.1. And here's what it says. It says for p of x equals 3x squared minus 2x plus 7. And here's what it says. It says find, and there's two parts to this. This is part A. So find p of a. Now this is kind of weird because it's not a number, right? Over here, oops, there we go. Right here, it was a number, f of 4, okay? This one, it's not f of 4 or p of 4, it's an a. But you do really the same thing as you would do if it was a 4. What would you do if it was a 4? What if it said find p of 4? What would you do with that 4? You'd put it in for wherever x is, exactly right. Okay, so you'd put a 4 here, put a 4 here. But it's not a 4. What is it? It's an a. So what are we going to do? We're going to replace that x with a what? With an a. That's right. And we're going to replace this x with what? An a. That's it. So really, it looks complicated. It's super, super easy. So instead of saying 3x squared, what are we going to say? 3a squared. Instead of minus 2x, what are we going to say? Minus 2a. And then just plus 7, because there's no x there. We don't replace anything. So p of a is equal to this. That would be your answer. So if that was on a quiz or a test, that's all you'd have to do. It's going to get harder than that. You know it always does, right? After the first example. But that's pretty much it. Here's one that's just slightly harder. It's not a whole lot harder. But again, they put p, I guess, for polynomial. And now they put negative 2t in for that parentheses. All right? It's the same idea. It's the same exact idea. So we're replacing x with whatever's in our parentheses. So instead of 3x squared, I'm going to put a parentheses there because I'm putting two things inside of that and squaring it. Everybody see that? So what I do, instead of x, I put a parentheses. Let's just continue that little trend. 2 times x, I'll put a parentheses. And then what? Plus 7. So now what are we sticking in that parentheses? The negative 2t, exactly right. Whatever's in that parentheses, that's what we're putting in this parentheses. So we stick in a negative 2t right there, put in a negative 2t right there. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Yeah, it's stuff that we've done before. We've done stuff kind of like this earlier in the year. Now we got to simplify it though, okay? So let's do that. Equals 3. Let's do this right there. How do we simplify that? Well, everything in the parentheses is being squared. So we square the negative, we square the 2, and we square the t. What happens when you square a negative? It's a positive, that's right. So I don't really have to do much with that, do I? What about the 2? 2 squared, which is 4. And it's being multiplied by this 3, correct? So it's 3 times 4. What else is in that parentheses? The t. And you have to do what to the t? You got to square that as well. So what do I get for that? T squared. Now you know what my next step is going to be for this, right? I multiply those together, but we'll wait till we get to that. What about this right here? Now we multiply these. I've got a negative 2 and a negative 2. So I multiply those. What do I get with negative 2 times negative 2? Positive 4 what? T. That's right, because you got the t that's also being multiplied. Okay? And then on the end we just put plus 7. We're almost finished. Only one simple little step to do. What do we do here? 12. Yep, multiply. So it's 12t squared plus 4t plus 7. And that's it. That's all you can do. And that would be your answer. Again, a little more complicated than the first one, just replacing an x with an a. We had to do a little bit of math, but it wasn't that hard, was it? Okay. Let's see what else we got. Oh, we only got one more example. But then I want to start the next lesson. I'm not going to do the whole entire next lesson, but I want to start it. And then I'll just give you one homework assignment tonight, though. Okay, all you're doing is finishing 5-1 for homework tonight. It's 21 to 51 odds, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that out there. All right, here we go. Example 6. This will be the last one we do for section 5-1. So example 6. This is kind of weird that they did. I don't understand why they did this. It doesn't really matter if I understand it or not, but it seems like they would continue with that whole function thing, but then they go back in time before you did the function stuff. It's weird. I don't know why they did this, but I'll put it on here anyway. So this is kind of like the old way of doing it without using functions. I don't know why they would do that. I thought they would just do a more complicated function problem, but that's okay. Let's do it. So it says, evaluate this 5xy cubed. They say at, but a lot of times books say if, but this book says at. It's kind of weird. I think I understand why they say that, but it's still kind of weird. We usually see if, but the book will say at x equals 3 and y equals -2. Tell you what, I'll give you 1 minute to do that problem. See what you get. See if you get the right answer. Okay, ready? Go. I'll give you 1 minute. So write it down and give it a shot. Don't make me do all the work. So everybody should be doing this. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people that are definitely not even trying this. Still got 2 people with their heads on the desk. Maybe I'll talk to your coaches and tell them how you're acting in my class. I don't know if that'll make any difference or not, but you got 15 seconds. You getting close? All right, here we go. So what I do is this. we're sticking numbers in for this. I could put the numbers in right away, but this is kind of what I usually do. I put the parentheses first, and then I just plug the numbers into the parentheses. I don't know if it's easier to do that or just put the parentheses, then the number, whatever. It doesn't make any difference, but what are we putting in that first parentheses? A 3, because that's where the x is. Then the next parentheses, a -2. This parentheses is the x, so I put a 3 in for that. This parentheses is the y, so I put in a -2. Everybody got that part, right? Just plugging stuff in? Yeah. All right, the next part possibly could be a little more complicated, but what do you think the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to go 4 times 3? No, because this is being squared. Always do exponents first. So let's do that right off the bat. If you wanted to, you could combine a couple steps. Did you do that? Here's what I think I did. Yeah, I did. I'm looking at my notes. I went 4 times -2, which is -8, times 3 squared, which is 9. You could do it like that. Or you could just do the 9 and then go 4 times 9 times -2. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, right? Because the 4 and the -2 are being multiplied. This is being squared. That's what we do. What about this? I'm going to look at this. What's that going to be? Is it? It's cubed. Right, it's cubed. It's an odd exponent, so it's negative, 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 which means it's going to be negative. But it's negative what? What's that whole thing? It's -8. That's correct. So let's just write it down. And it's very important that you get the right sign here. All right, this sign is negative. Just because it's an exponent doesn't mean the sign always goes positive. When will that sign go positive? When the exponent is what kind of a number? An even number, right. If it's an even number, this will be positive. If it's an odd number, this whole thing will be negative. All right? What's that? -72. What I would do, this is signs. That's the first thing I would do. I got a negative and a negative. What's that going to be? It's going to be a positive. Now I can go ahead and multiply. However you want to do it. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 8 is 120, so it's plus 120. And now you just do that. It's basically subtraction. 120 minus 72, and that would be 48. Did anybody get 48 before I got it? The 120 came from multiplying these three numbers together. 15 times 8 is 120. And it's positive because it's negative times negative. Yes?
We're keeping it as 48 as the answer, or we have to write this?
No, that's it. That's all you can do. There's no other way to write it.
The one before this one.
This.
There was no way to get to it.
What's that?
There was no way to simplify that one.
To simplify which one? Oh, I see what you're saying. The one we did. Yeah. There's no way you could do this. Yeah, I thought about saying something, but in another lesson I'm going to talk about this. But these are not like terms, are they? This is t squared, and this is a t. You can't add those together because they're not like terms. Okay? But right here, they're just all regular numbers, so you can add or subtract all those together. Everybody good with that? All right, so your homework. Come on. Why isn't that changing? There it goes. All right, so your homework is section 5.1. Don't go away because I'm going to start a new lesson just because I just don't want to give you 20 minutes just to do your homework. You can do it at home. All right, so it's 21 to 51, and you're only doing the odds. It seems like a lot, but it's really not that many. I think that's, 16 problems? Yeah, that's your homework tonight, okay? So 21 to 51 odds. Now, what I'm going to teach next, I'm not going to assign for homework, okay? So don't get all freaked out about it. But that will be your homework tonight. So let's do this. Let's, I don't know, just to stay consistent, I'll put that thing right there. Just so it, oops. What am I doing? Click the right buttons here. All right, and now let's change this. So we'll keep it on the same video. Should I keep it on the same video or make a second one? I don't know. I should make a second one. Let's do that. Let's make a second one. So let's close this out.